Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Lisa Martin here with Celigo's CIO live show. We're so pleased that you're with us today. Today we're going to be talking about automation to operate responsibly. My guest today is Jason Ross, the CIO of GetBusy. We're going to be talking about how organizations should be thinking about automation. Jason's then going to dig through the key benefits of automation. And then we're going to finish up by talking about communication about automation, such an important piece. As always, we would love for you to participate in the conversation. Drop us a note here in the LinkedIn live chat or a question for Jason. We'll get to that as we can. Jason, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks very much for having me.
Great to have you here. Before we dig into automation, Jason, give the audience a little bit of a background about you and about GetBusy.
Yeah, sure. So obviously my name is Jason. I've been CIO of the GetBusy group for a few years now. We are on the London stock market. We're a global business with headquartered in the UK. We've got offices in Houston, Texas and Sydney, Australia. We're a software company focusing on productivity and document management software for accountants and accountancy practices. And yeah, we've been doing digital transformation for a number of years, which has accelerated over the last 2 or 3 years in quite a big way.
We're going to be talking about that acceleration. Let's get into our first topic. Jason, give us your perspective. How should organizations be thinking about automation? What are those steps they should be taking to bring that in?
Yeah, good question. So from our perspective, we've always looked to integrate for our customers. So we've always looked to integrate with core ERP systems, CRM systems, or whatever industry specific tools are out there for our own software. But from internally, what we always look to do for integration is map out our data flows and the way our data flows around our business and make sure there is no manual intervention that needs to hop across fences, which are there in most businesses. And so we look there, start off with, and make sure that we sort of plug the risk of data escaping at those gates and make sure that we have a landscape of all of our tools, how they interact with each other, where that data ends up flowing and sitting, and more importantly, how are we doing the integration between them in a secure manner?
So when you're talking with peers, maybe in your shoes, maybe a little bit behind you, how do you advise them to create an automation strategy? A lot of organizations that I talk to implement automation in pockets or tactically. How do you advise them to up-level that to really be strategic about automation?
Yeah, so often automation or integration is done out of necessity when you're looking at a particular project that maybe you're putting in, best work with an example, a new CRM system that needs to interact with your ERP system or your support system. For us, that was when we really started to focus on integration and being able to build something that was customizable, because for our requirements today that are certainly way more complicated than they were when we began. If we would have used the out-of-box integrations or created one ourselves, we would have been very slow to respond to business change now. So my tip to people that I'm speaking to in this sort of situation is to think about the future of your integration and look at it to try and make sure that you can build something on a platform that means that you can respond to your business requirements and ultimately the business that we as CIOs serve, making sure that we can respond in an agile manner as fast as possible to any change requests, not turn around and go, oh, but that integration was written, so therefore we're going to need to code a new one that's going to take us 6 months. It needs to take more like 6 hours or 6 minutes, not 6 months.
Speaking of acceleration, you talked about the acceleration of digital transformation at GetBusy. How were you able to really bring in automation integration to have it really be a company-wide initiative, not just in certain pockets or functions?
Yeah, good question. From our perspective, it's we started with our ERP system, which was NetSuite, and we integrated that. And then what we looked to do as a business was say, well, we need all of our data in one place to be able to report on it and make decisions. Bearing in mind, we have multiple currencies, multiple tax jurisdictions, legal entities that operate all across the world. So the ERP system was the catalyst that started that acceleration. But we then had other systems, disparate systems connected to that ERP system that we needed that if we changed all of it, it would take us years. So what we needed to do was connect and create highways of data between those systems and our ERP system to bring the automation in, so that I didn't need to, for argument's sake, give my NetSuite staff a Salesforce license. So that data was flowing from one to another, and to do that, we use the Celigo iPaaS platform, which allows us to create integrations relatively quickly, but also make sure that they're custom to our requirements.
Fast and custom. It sounds like automation has been kind of a game changer within your organization. Talk about it as that game-changing element that really helps the organization move faster and be more agile.
Yeah, I think it seems like a bit of a strange thing to talk about now, but particularly from COVID perspective, we were in a situation when we were working from home that we have a large office here in Cambridge in the United Kingdom, and we work very closely with our colleagues in Australia and the US. But that was we ended up having 88 remote offices very quickly overnight. So what happened with automation is it allows our sales team, as an example, to be able to look at our Salesforce opportunity data from within inside of NetSuite and vice versa. So the sales team and the finance team could not only work together better, but they could actually self-serve the data in their own systems without needing to access and be a master of what's happening in those best of breed tools and applications. So for us, that meant that we could bring in skilled knowledge in finance, for instance, to build the finance team out. They didn't need to have knowledge and expertise in the way we'd created a custom Salesforce side of things. It just appeared inside of NetSuite. So we were able to scale teams very quickly.
And also helping those teams really utilize data much better, much faster to make those business-driven, data-driven business decisions. Let's move into our second topic. I want to spend a fair amount of time here, Jason. That's the benefits, the key benefits of automation that it's bringing to GetBusy, that it can bring to enterprises the world over. One of the first things I'm hearing from you is speed, fast time to business value. Talk about that as an advantage to the organization.
Yeah, I think particularly this day and age where we are budgeting far more regularly is probably the best way of saying, and looking to respond to business opportunities and changing in market trends, we need to be fast. And so therefore our technology behind it, including the way that, our data map that I mentioned earlier, we need to be able to make not only changes quickly, but decisions quickly. So it needs to be simple to understand. We need to be able to stand back and go, hang on a minute, you want to add a new CRM for that product over there, do you? Okay, fine. But it's going to need to be able to do this, this, and this. And that for us is a really big, important part of having a standard integration strategy. That means that we have a decision framework over change that the business wants to make. We understand what it's going to impact. We understand the risk. And more importantly, on top of that, we understand the benefit of being able to go, well, that's going to take us 2 weeks, or that's going to take us 4 months to make that change. So the business can then respond and make a decision, maybe off the back of that information, but we're able to do that very, very quickly.
Talk about, you mentioned sort of really kind of democratizing data access and giving, like, say, the finance folks or the sales folks access to data to make decisions, especially during COVID when you had those 88 different offices. How does automation enable organizations like yours to optimize the utilization of resources?
Yeah, that sales and finance story is the key one. There are other ones in our business, along with our support team as well, where they can access data it's at their fingertips. There's not a single source of truth, but there is the source of truth is in 2 or 3 different places. It's synchronized, it's live, and it's in the environment that they're comfortable with and understand. So there is, no one needs to jump on Slack and message the finance team and ask for a copy of a sales order because the customer's rung up and said, why am I being charged more than what you put on the quote, for argument's sake? And vice versa. The finance team don't need to ring up the sales team and go, where is this? Or can you send me a copy of the quote? I don't understand why there is a different version kicking around. So all of those things are really important, obviously, but they are great examples. Without automation, that's the situation we would have been in.
One of the things that a topic that is hot, it's probably always going to be hot where data is concerned, Jason, is security. What are some of the key benefits that automation can deliver to helping organizations really keep their businesses more secure as the threat landscape is changing on a minute by minute, nanosecond by nanosecond basis?
Yeah, you're only as secure as your weakest point. And sorry, excuse me, from our, we're ISO 27001 certified. Actually, the auditor is here right now and doing our audit. And for us, being able to lay out our data map and say, these are the CRM systems, these are the ERP systems, this is where our data is sitting, and this is how it's transferred between those systems in a secure manner using these credentials and login details that's administered centrally by our IT team. That's great and that's nice, but there's also the part of, well, how do you guarantee that, for argument's sake, address in NetSuite is the same as the address in Salesforce, so someone doesn't send the wrong piece of information to the customer's moved address, and we don't want to send them the wrong information. So there's that part, that risk part, which is also part of the security to it. And for us, having a system that allows us, when something has gone wrong, to notify us rather than it being a hope strategy that's going to be there. We are in control. We can monitor everything that's going back and forth from a security perspective and also from a data integrity perspective. It means that we don't have to ever download, and there's no data transformation or uploads or downloads in that core data. So the risk is really low, and the users or our teammates don't even know it's happening.
That's critical to have it really transparent in the back end, and from a risk mitigation perspective, really dialing that up. What about, obviously, we are experiencing so many headwinds in the macroeconomic environment. How has automation allowed you to really manage the ebb and the flow depending on what headwinds we're facing macroeconomically?
Yeah, we're able just really quickly, Lisa. It's as simple as that. We're able to go, okay, we need to deploy this piece of software, or we need to make a change to bring in a new business unit, or we've made an acquisition. How do we bring that into our business quickly and go and monitor how it's doing so that we can make business decisions on it? All of those things is all about speed and agility. And for us, we need to be able to it's great having efficient processes and software, but if you're not able to change and move them quick, then you can really slow the business down.
Right. And no business can afford to slow down, because there's a competitor right back here in the rearview mirror that is ready to take over. If they're able to be more agile, allowing that oversight will allowing the business to move much faster and nimbly as macroeconomic headwinds change, the security environment changes, et cetera. Jason, great job summarizing the key benefits of automation. We'd love to know from you. We talked about fast time to business value. We talked about resource optimization, security, agility, and the ability to operate in a dynamic macro environment. What other benefits are you seeing from automation? Drop a note here in our final few minutes, or benefits you're looking to see from automation. We'd love to hear from you. Last topic, Jason, that's about communication. Obviously, you gave some great advice on how organizations can really think about automation strategically from the top down. Who do you advise are some of the key stakeholders that should be involved in that strategy discussion, direction, and execution?
Yeah, well, from our perspective, we've tried a few different tactics there, and some have worked really well. Some have been a bit of a challenge. We've certainly found a really good way of doing it is to drive security and compliance off from the top of the business. We have security and compliance leaders throughout the business, champions, if you like, in different departments, irrelevant of where they sit in the org chart. There are people that get to volunteer to be part of that. Part of that security and compliance is also around understanding the systems and the way they work. Then our change management structure and decision framework always has a discussion about security, compliance, integration. And when I say security and compliance, I'm talking about where's the data going? Is it secure? How's it secured? And the change management is actually exposed to all of the stakeholders of each internal project. So if we're doing a change, for argument's sake, for our support team, where they want to integrate something else from NetSuite into Zendesk, which is, I'm using a real example here, the support team manager, the owner of that particular requirement, will sit with the ops team, with the security team, understand how that's impacted. So later on down the business, when he or she wants to make another change, they'll be thinking about that in advance and understanding that that's a big part of their requirement, and potentially making sure that they understand why we're guiding them in a certain way, so that we don't risk or opening doors that we shouldn't be.
Right. But change management is a challenging thing to achieve. It also requires cultural change. Last few seconds here that we have, how have you enabled that cultural change at GetBusy? Because it sounds like you guys were able to really get on the same page and collaborate and communicate pretty efficiently and quickly.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I'm bound to say that. But the from our perspective, it's about having a change team for each that involves the key stakeholders. And they own it, they own responsibility for that change and the requirement, and are there as part of acceptance as well. So it's pretty standard across most businesses, but we've really focused on making sure that that change is involved as many of the key people that are going to be using the software or process on a day-to-day basis as possible.
Involving those folks, those key stakeholders, is critical. Jason, it's been such a pleasure having you on CIO Live. We appreciate your insights, your time, sharing those key benefits and recommendations for the audience. And to the audience, we want to thank you so much for watching our first 3 shows. We look forward to seeing you in the new year. Have a wonderful holiday season. Stay safe and a great start to 2023, and we'll see you in January.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. My pleasure.